Johnson, who's 10th. A finish that inspired her and told the world there's a new champion from the United States rising. Hello, everyone. I'm Don Crickey. The times are a-changing in gymnastics in the United States. They always change following an Olympic year. As evidence, last year's all-around champions at the Nationals are retired now, Dan Hayden and Phoebe Mills. And perhaps the most famous gymnastics coach in the world, the Transylvanian tutor, Bella Caroli, isn't even here. But worry not about Bella. He has some great juniors getting ready for Barcelona. It is always an exciting time in any sport when there's a rising superstar on the scene. And that's the case with the U.S. and gymnast Brandi Johnson, who made the Olympic team at age 15. We're joined by another Johnson of Olympic fame, Kathy Johnson, who won 2 medals at Los Angeles. Kathy, how about Brandi? Is she that good?
Brandi Johnson is having a phenomenal year, and she's only getting better. She has a substantial lead after the compulsories yesterday, and her optionals are so exciting that she may very well have this locked up. Also, her teammate in 88, Shelley Stack, was 3rd going into her last event yesterday. She had 2 major breaks and fell to 14th place. So she has her work cut out for her trying to move up, as do all the girls trying to catch Brandi Johnson. The competition is very significant for all of them. It determines the national champion as well as the national team and its ranking. And, of course, the top 20 girls go on to the final World Championship trials.
One of the most famous names in U.S. gymnastics in the recent years is Bart Conner, a gold medal winner at Los Angeles. And Bart was the youngest ever to win this event, the U.S. Nationals. He did it when he was just 17. What about the men this year, Bart? How are they?
This is also a very exciting time for the U.S. men's team. If you look at the top 10 from yesterday's compulsory round, 3 of the Olympians are there from the 88 games: Kevin Davis, Tom Schlesinger, and Lance Ringnold. But what's most exciting are the 7 newcomers to the national team, led by Tim Ryan from Stanford. These guys are exciting. They have routines that are packed with difficulty, and I know the U.S. coaching staff is smiling a lot these days because they know they have a lot of talent to work with between now and 92.
The scoring at the U.S. Gymnastics Championships is broken down into 2 areas. Compulsories, which have already been held, account for 60% of the overall score. The optionals, which we'll see today, comprise 40%.
In most competitions, the compulsories and the optionals each count for 50%. They have gone to this procedure to put an emphasis on the compulsories because historically the Americans have been weak in compulsories. This should better their chances at World Championships.
And after the compulsories, Brandi Johnson is the leader, followed by Sandy Woolsey and Christy Henrich. Shelley Stack has dropped to 14th. Christy Henrich going up on the precarious balance beam, just 4 inches in width to work with, Kathy.
And she just started with a beautiful mount, round off, back handspring, one arm back handspring onto the balance beam. Very difficult move. The amazing thing about Christy is she's coming back from a terrible injury. In April, the USA-USSR competition, she actually fell from the balance beam doing a dismount and broke a vertebra in her back. Back handspring, 2 layouts, a beautiful pass into a half turn. The half turn was a little bit late, but it's an excellent pass.
Each performance on the beam culminates with the dismount. A split-second effort that really defines the essence of this very difficult event.
Split jump sideways on the balance beam. She's moving quite well. It's very difficult to start on the balance beam. Sometimes if you have a little bit of nerves going into your first event, you don't like to be on balance beam.
I don't know who it's tougher on, Kathy, the performer or her coach.
Probably a little bit of both. Back walkover, 2 back handsprings to a double twist dismount. Short on the landing and took a big step.
But till that point, a very well done effort by Christy Henrich on the balance beam.
We're looking at the first combination here. She does a back handspring, sets it up nice and straight, layout step out, and immediately right into another layout step out. And as she lands, she does a half turn. Now, usually she does that half turn much quicker. This is a really nice combination for a dismount. 2 back handsprings, landing 2 foot right to a double twist. Now, she usually does a double back dismount, but that's what she had injured herself on, so she's playing a little bit safe here.
And the score for Miss Henrich, 9.25 on the balance beam. Christy is a great comeback story. Earlier, she talked with Bart about an almost career-ending injury.
You came off quite a scary moment a couple of months ago. Tell me about that.
I was doing a beam dismount in my optional routine, and I missed my foot on a dismount, and I landed on my head and fractured my neck.
Well, now I understand from the trainer that it's the second thoracic vertebra, so it's actually in the back.
Yeah.
That's a rather traumatic thing. Was that a scary moment?
Yeah, it was. It really was, but it just made me appreciate that trick that much more.
Now here is the young lady that so many have come to see. A 15-year-old in Seoul. She competed and was 10th in the all-around and worked against the world's best. This is the rising star of women's gymnastics, Brandi Johnson.
It's really been exciting to watch her improvement over the last 7 months. She's come on so strong since that very high moment for her at the Olympic Games. And a pike full twisting double back. Nails the landing. Both she and Wendy pick music that the crowd can really get into.
She's a wonderful dancer and a powerful tumbler, and she lights up the arena with her smile.
This is one of my favorite passes. Does whip, whip, right through to a double tuck. She's off to a great start. Preparing for her last tumbling run. She ends with a tuck double back and a good landing again.
Fantastic.
What's really going to help Brandi is I know she's working on even more difficult tumbling passes. Will make her so much more competitive in the world. Great routine.
16-year-old Brandi Johnson, who's wowed them worldwide in a major international meet in East Germany earlier this year. She won 5 gold medals and got standing ovations from the normally very reluctant East German audiences.
Now, as I said earlier, all the events have special requirements that you've got to meet. Brandi more than meets her special requirements. Here's that piked full twisting double back. Very nice. Slight separation of the legs, but hardly noticeable. And again, this is a really unique tumbling run. 2 whip backs right in a row. Through to a double tuck. Really good tumbling here.
And the numbers are in, and the judges felt that Brandi Johnson's performance was as good as advertised coming in. 9.70. Every routine has been solid for Brandi Johnson. We'll be back with more of the first rotation in a moment. Here's another top young American gymnast coming up to the uneven bars, Juliet Bangerter. Just 15 years old. A year ago, she was the national junior champion, winning the all-around. She was 5th in this competition after compulsories.
It's a nice full pirouette over the bar right into a Tkachev, or reverse hecht. She's actually working quite well. This is not her best event. She tends to be a little weak. As you can see, a little saggy in the back, a little slow on that double tuck flyaway. Very good routine for her.
And the dismount.
Here's her dismount. She does a full pirouette over the bar. She's over a little too far and very slow on this double tuck flyaway, but manages a good landing. She's probably the most laid-back gymnast I've ever seen. She's so calm all the time.
And the score for Juliet Bangerter is 9.625. Here's an Olympian in Seoul last September for the USA. Shelley Stack had some problems in compulsories opening this event. Now, this is one of her strong areas.
As I said earlier, she was 3rd going into balance beam, her last event yesterday.
Shelley is ready to vault.
Shelley's doing a Yurchenko layout, full twist, and a great landing. It's a good start for Shelley.
The women each get 2 vaults. and pick the best for their top score.
What's important here is that vault is scored from a 10.0. Well, look at it here. She has good speed, good position onto the horse, lifts up. Nice tight body, a little bit of a pike, but not much. It's an interesting camera angle here to really see almost what the gymnast sees. You can check the distance away from the horse. Good distance.
Shelley Stack ready now for her second vault. Score for the first vault for Shelley Stack was 9.6, and she's coming up now on her second vault attempt.
She's performing
sprinting down that runway.
And another layout full, slight step on the end. I'm sure she'll take the first score.
Getting the sweet spot in the springboard and getting great elevation off the vault, off the horse, and we'll see the score now after a 9.6 on her second attempt for Shelley Stack.
Now the vaults are almost identical here. She has about the same position on the horse and in the air, and just has to take that step back.
Again, a look from the overhead camera.
You can see there that her legs are slightly apart on the on-flight and also slightly apart on the landing. Very minor deductions.
The judges are totaling the numbers, and we'll be back with Shelley Stack's score in a moment. 0.625 should move Shelley Stack up in the standings. She trained with Bella Caroli before making the U.S. Olympic team last year, as did our leader, Brandi Johnson. Another student of Bella Caroli was the all-around champion here a year ago, Phoebe Mills, who went on the Olympic Games. But Phoebe's not back to defend. For more on that, Greg Lewis traveled to her home in suburban Chicago.
The young woman who has just clinched the US Gymnastics Championship.
That was last year for Phoebe Mills. This year, she's not defending her U.S. championship. And her Olympic medal, well, that's part of a glorious past, too. Phoebe Mills has decided to leave the Bronze Age and join teenage. She's no longer driven to win, but learning to drive. Phoebe Mills is steering her life in new directions. Last summer, she was Bella Caroli's star pupil in Houston. This summer, she's Mr. Lalo's star pupil in an intensive biology class at New Trier High School in the Chicago suburb of Winnetka. When she was only 10 years old, Phoebe Mills chose to leave her family to pursue her gymnastics dream. Now she's 16, and she wants something else. What was it about this place and home that kind of grabbed your heart and said, it's time to come back here?
I guess mainly because it was home, and I had been away from home for so long.
These are words that bring tears to Phoebe Mills' eyes, though they are bravely held back, and a quiver to her lips.
I'd missed my family. I'd been away from home for almost 6 years, and that was starting to pay its toll, I think. We're outside, you guys are.
The saying goes, home is where the heart is. Until 3 weeks ago, Phoebe's heart was in gymnastics. But since Seoul, things have changed.
I had an Epstein-Barr virus, which is similar to mono, and that just basically makes you feel very tired and very weak. And when I was trying to work out with that, it made everything much, much more difficult.
I think she lost her motivation. She's the kind of person who, when she does something, wants to do it 100%. And if she can't do it 100%, she doesn't want to do it.
That's part of the...
Now, goal-oriented Phoebe Mills wants to score perfect tens in school.
I did school through correspondence, but it was pretty limited since all my attention was focused on my gymnastics and everything circled around gymnastics. When I had been doing gymnastics, my main goal was to make it to the Olympics. That was the ultimate goal. And I had reached that. I had made it to the Olympics, and on top of that, I'd even gotten a medal. And So it wasn't like I hadn't achieved the goal that I had set out for myself, which I had. And I just really felt that I wanted to get on with other things.
So, the reigning U.S. champion isn't at the U.S. Championships. Not as an athlete, not even as a spectator. Only in memory and spirit. Think you could have won?
Yeah, I think I could have won if I had been healthy. But right now, you know, that doesn't matter. That's not what I want to do. So.
Phoebe Mills won't easily forget the exciting chapters of her gymnastics life, no matter how hard she buries herself in textbooks. Constant reminders surround her, for sport is life in the Mills family. 3 of Phoebe's siblings aspire to compete in the 1992 Winter Olympics. Their kitchen wall urges them on with sports philosophies and inspiration. Phoebe's own words of wisdom?
I would tell any girl that has a dream like this to just do whatever it takes to make it, because in the end, it's definitely all worth it. Work as hard as you can, put all those hours necessary, put the extra hours necessary, because in the end, it's definitely worth it. When you look back, you'll know that you have accomplished something in your life.
Now, with new direction in her life, that means admitting something she'd never said before this interview.
The way everything is going now, I don't think I'll be back. I think, you know, I'm pretty much done with it.
After 6 years on the yellow brick road to her own Oz in Seoul, Korea, Phoebe Mills is home at last.
For Phoebe Mills, a terrific career ends at a very early age. And it's on to the next venture for Phoebe. Now, a young lady who surprised everyone with her excellent showing in the compulsories. Here's Sandy Woolsey on the uneven bars.
She has been steady all year in all of the qualifying meets up to this point. She's very, very aggressive. Nice giant swings. Reverse hecht, good height. Little bubble on that handstand.
Having a good year. Sandy was first in the all-around earlier this year at the American Classic.
Nice dismount. To giant full twist over the top, right to a tuck double back. That will help give her back some of her bonus points. Again, remember when I said that all routines are scored from a 9-6 unless you achieve the bonus points. Full pirouette over the top, right to a tuck double back dismount. And a good solid landing. She didn't move her feet at all.
And the judges liked it. A score of 9.675 for Sandy Woolsey. The scoring numbers after the first rotation show Brandi Johnson firmly in the lead. Completing the top 4 are Christy Henrich and Juliet Bangerter. Another former Olympian, Rhonda Fain, is here in Bloomington, Minnesota. And she talked with Bart Connor about the heartbreak she and our other women's team members experienced at the Seoul Olympics.
We all felt for you. You got caught in an awkward situation, one that you perhaps couldn't help. What are your feelings on the whole mess in Seoul?
Well, usually I try and forget it, but it was a shame what happened in Seoul, and it's something that couldn't be helped. I feel it was mostly political, and just try and forget it and just look at how good the U.S. team really did do, and they did deserve the bronze.
Rhonda Fain handling a very difficult situation of last September very well. Meanwhile, the current front runner on the right, Brandi Johnson, loosening up. She's ready to try the vault. Now the explosive athleticism of superstar Brandi Johnson about to be demonstrated on the vault.
As well as Brandi is performing in the all-around, it's hard to pick a single event, but this is her event. She's outstanding here.
She has great speed and power. At the start, intense and focused. Ready to explode off the springboard.
So Yurchenko, full twist, a little hop on the landing. She can correct that on the next one.
It looked like she almost didn't get her hands up on top of the horse. She was really short in terms of reaching back to the horse.
Coach Kevin Brown giving her some counsel. That's another hallmark of the great ones in this sport. When they get the second chance, they're able to correct a mistake.
Now, as Bart said, she's a little short on the front side of the horse, and that's the reason she had a little trouble getting the rotation and had to hop forward.
Now an overhead view of Brandi Johnson's first vault.
We'll also see the other fault here. She's a little short in distance. She's landing too close to the horse. She's really capable of much better on that vault. This is the event where I really think Brandi could think about medaling in the World Championships and then maybe in the Olympic Games in '92.
Kevin Brown, her coach, is very open about it. He says she could be the best vaulter in the world. Score on the first vault, 9.55. So we'll see now if she can improve on that.
What she really has to concentrate on here is trying to get up on top of the horse so she can really blast it, get up in the air, and then float the landing.
It all culminates in a fraction of a second from the time they hit the springboard, through the trick, and into the landing.
Much better. Still a slight hop on the landing, but she got more distance, more height.
Like the
Just a much
coaches
better
say,
ball.
the great ones can make the corrections when they get the second crack at it.
She kind of drilled her hands into the horse, but she did get her hands much more up on top of the horse, as you mentioned, Kathy. And, of course, that allows her to block and just sail the landing.
What's really nice about her twist is she opens up, arms out to the side, gives it a little style.
The leader, Brandi Johnson, improves her second vault and gets a 9.75 score from the judges.
Right now, Brandi is the most familiar name in gymnastics. I wonder if her father knew that when he named her for another popular brand.
She hears them say, Brandi, you're a fine girl. What a good wife you would be. Such a fine. But my life, my love, and my lady is the sea.
Brandi, the hit from the early 70s by the group Looking Glass, the inspiration for her name. But it's not a song, rather her perfect mix of grace and strength that has propelled Brandi Johnson to the top of the gymnastics world. At last year's Olympics in Seoul, her performance earned her an impressive 10th place finish in the all-around. Since returning home from Seoul, Brandi's life has taken on a few changes. She took time out to lend her name to Say No to Drugs campaign. But it hasn't all been fun and games. She decided to leave her coach, gymnastics guru Bella Caroli, and move back to her family home in Florida to train with coach Kevin Brown. She has also launched into prominence on the international gymnastics scene, capturing the all-around title in this year's American Cup. And repeating that feat in a challenge meet against her powerful Soviet counterparts. She also traveled to Cottbus, East Germany, and captured an unheard of 5 gold medals, winning every event at the International Tournament of Champions. Bart talked with her earlier.
Since Seoul, my confidence has been better, so I wasn't nervous for the competition, and I'd been training really hard, so I just did my best.
It's Brandi's training switch, moving back home to train with her former coach, Kevin Brown. He seems to be her new strength.
He's really positive, and he knows how to motivate you. And we have a good time when we work out, and that's most important, and we're happy.
Brandi's assets really start just within her inner drive. Her focus and her concentration on every event is just phenomenal. Right from the gym to the workout, right to the competition, she's striving all the time for perfection.
With all the power and grace of a world-class gymnast, we all hope this fine girl is a force to be reckoned with in Barcelona in 1992.
Now 4'10", 80-pound Mighty Mite Shelley Stack, ready to mount the uneven bars. She was an Olympian at age 15 last September for the United States in Seoul.
And this is one of her best events. It was a beautiful front giant, a back giant to a full pirouette, right into a reverse hecht. She really moves well on this event. Giant. Giant swing, and into a tuck double back. Little hop on the landing. The first part of the routine was definitely the strongest area.
Shelley, part of the changing coaches syndrome. She was with Caroli before the Olympics. Now she's training with Don Peters and Scats in Southern California.
There you're looking at her pirouette moves. You see how fast her hands have to move. That was a beautiful reverse hecht, way up in the air. Here's her dismount, tuck double back. Very common dismount used nowadays.
Perfect form, though. Knees together and toes pointed.
And the score for Shelley Stack on the bars is a good one, 9.70. We'll be back with more of the US Gymnastics Championships in a moment. Connor and Kathy Johnson, this is Don Cricky back at the US Gymnastics Championships. And here's Wendy Bruce, 16 years old, currently in 5th place overall. Involved in one of her better events, normally the vault, getting some last-minute advice from Coach Kevin Brown.
This is a look back at her second attempt for her first vault, and it's a balk again, which gives her a 0 for the first vault. She now has 2 more attempts for her second vault. But I can't tell you how hard it is psychologically to try and come back and make the small adjustments necessary to pull this vault off. It's a very difficult vault. Critical positioning on the board is necessary. And it's hard to erase the memory of those 2 balks.
Tense and focused. Ready to explode off the springboard.
Oh, no, it's another balk for her.
Kathy, what happens now?
She has another attempt at this vault, but then she will receive a 5/10 of a point deduction. But in the old rules, she would have been done. That would have been another 0.
I think she thinks that it's over. She saluted the judges.
It looks like it because they're both walking back. Someone's got to tell her she does get another attempt.
Even Kevin Brown seems to be conceding that Wendy's going to get a 0. That will drop her completely out of the running, certainly off the national team.
I think what's happening here is they use those marks to know exactly where they are, and she knows she is not where she's supposed to be to get her feet on the board properly. She's just been told. Now, it's a slight relief to know you've got another attempt, but again, she's balked 3 times. And as I said earlier, psychologically, it's almost like Greg Louganis in the Olympic Games when he hit his head on the diving board. You've got to get back up there and do it again. Gather your thoughts, block what's happened before, and think only of what you have to do. This is her last shot at this vault. Otherwise, it will be a 0. She will be completely out of the competition.
Nobody to help you. She's on her own now. Most critical vault for Wendy Bruce.
And she's on.
What a
round-off
relief.
layout vault. Unbelievable to come through like that. What a dramatic situation. Now, keep in mind, she will have the 5/10 of a point deduction, but boy, does that beat a 0.
Here she comes again on the replay, finally getting the timing right. Off the springboard, off the horse. And the vault's a good one.
Notice her coach, Kevin Brown, stepping in for the spot. That's very important. Look at that, and it's a good vault. Nice distance.
She had her steps right this time, didn't she, Kathy?
I can tell now by where she placed her hands before the board. She was way off on the times before.
What a relief.
Smile for me. Let's forget it. What just happened now, okay? All right? Way to pull through. You knew that was going to cost you big. All right? Way to pull through.
So midway through the competition, we have a comeback story in the person of Wendy Bruce. She gets a score of 8.90, far better than the 0 that she might have had, and she stays in the upper echelon of the competition. Now up on the floor exercises, Christy Henrich.
Christy is a very gutsy performer. coming back from that injury, worked very hard for this competition. She's in much better shape than she was 3 weeks ago at the qualifying meet.
She's only 16, but has been a long-time national campaigner. National team as a junior from Independence, Missouri.
Very, very powerful. Full twisting double back. She actually took that a little back too far, so it was a little lower than some of the other full twisting double backs we've seen.
Christy Henrich currently in 3rd place.
Middle tumbling run was a front with a full twist. This type of dance you can really have fun with. Get the audience involved. Good thing about Christy's work is look at her toe point. It's always right there. And a tuck double back dismount, a little low on the landing, but pulled it through. And I've seen that ending before. It looks very similar to Phoebe Mills' ending. Now we'll look at her last tumbling run. She's a little bit low on this landing. But like the true competitor she is, she really pulls it around right here and just nails it. I'd be smiling too.
9.50 is the score for Christy Henrich on the floor exercise. That should be good enough to maintain her 3rd position overall. Now, after 2 rotations of the optionals, Brandi Johnson has widened her lead over 2nd place Sandy Woolsey. Christy Henrich and Juliet Bangerter continue to stand 3rd and 4th. Brandi Johnson is the leader after the first 2 of 4 rotations in the optional competition. She's followed by Sandy Woolsey, Christy Henrich, and Juliet Bangerter. Sandy Woolsey at 16, 5 feet tall, 100 pounds from Tempe, Arizona, still running 2nd. Behind the leader, Brandi Johnson, still trying to close the gap as Sandy comes up now to the floor exercise.
One thing that really helps Sandy is she has good difficulty on every event. First tumbling pass is a whip through to a triple twist. Little stutter step there at the end. But the triple twist was nice in the air. It's a requirement for Gym Acro Series, combining dance and acrobatic elements. And a good tuck double back.
It's interesting to note that last year Sandy missed the national team by half a point. She placed 25th in this event. Now she's in the top 3.
Needs to work a little bit harder on those legs and toe point. Giving away 1/10 of a point, 1/2 of a point. Things you really can't do if we're going to be competitive internationally. And a double twist punch front. Sat down on the landing. It's a major deduction. What a shame. It's a good ending tumbling run. Her first tumbling pass was a whip through to a triple twist. This earns her some bonus points, trying to get that routine up to a 10.0 value. Now you can see she took the little steps at the end. And this is where the major deduction was. She does a double twist, and she lands a little bit short. You can see here to try and get that front around. Just didn't quite make it. Again, that's 5/10 of a point deduction.
The half-point deduction for the fall was indeed expensive. 8.95 is the score given Sandy Woolsey for her work in the floor exercise. Now Christy Henrich, who was third behind Woolsey through 2 of the optionals, is in position to move up. Next, an elegant young gymnast, 14-year-old Jenny Ester, is ready to vault.
This is Jenny's weakest event, and although they've raised the value of the vault she's performing, a handspring front vault is a value rating of 9.9. It's not the most difficult vault done here. Good position in the air, nice and clean as she always is, but she had that step backwards, which will cost her.
Jenny being hugged by her coach, Christy Kraft, and by John Sweeney, a former national champion on the floor exercise. The score, 9.475. Still to come on the bars is the all-around leader in the national championships, Brandi Johnson. Back at the US Gymnastics Championships in Bloomington, Minnesota. Here's a young lady having a standout meet, Christy Henrich, 3rd overall.
This is a good event for Christy. She needs a 9.425 to take 2nd place. Good vault, a little bit off-center, and a slight hop at the end. Those are the only 2 main deductions.
Kathy, what a remarkable story. She's not letting that back injury affect her at all.
I am really amazed at how well she's come back in such a short time.
And the score, 9.65, elevates Christy Henrich into 2nd place, ahead of Sandy Woolsey in the overall competition. Brandi Johnson getting set to go up on the uneven bar. She is a great story. As a 4-year-old, she underwent abdominal surgery and was told to get into gymnastics, her mother was, so that she could rehabilitate. Doctors told her they doubted she could do sit-ups because of an abdominal weakness, and she's come back to be a potential world champion. She is the leader here in the United States Gymnastics Championships. Was our youngest Olympian in Seoul last September. Brandi Johnson held the lead after the compulsories and has gradually built it here in the optionals as she now goes to the uneven bars. There's her mother, Kathy Johnson, up from Orlando, Florida. As Brandi Johnson is the focus of most of this crowd.
Brandi has really improved on this event. She's added more difficulty. Right here, a big reverse hex. Counter swing, right into a front flip. She catches with mixed grip. She moves so well and so aggressively here. Going for every handstand position. Giant full pirouette over the top. And a tuck double flyaway. Excellent routine.
Well done, as always, by Brandi Johnson. The fall, of course, in swinging bars is losing momentum and fluidity of motion. Even worse, losing grip with all those grasps and regrasps, and she went through her routine effortlessly. And a tremendous ovation for Brandi Johnson.
Brandi is also working on an even more difficult dismount, which will upgrade that routine considerably. Look how high she is on that release move. Shoulders way above the bar as she regrasped. And again, same thing. Way above the bar, catches with mixed grip. Here's her dismount. Nice high tuck double flyaway, which as I said earlier, she's working on a full twisting double back.
Coach Kevin Brown likes what he sees. As his prized pupil, Brandi Johnson, about to build her lead. A relieved mom in the stands. One rotation to go in this competition for Brandi Johnson before she'll be named the overall champion. All-around champion. 9.80 is her score on the uneven bars. Brandi Johnson, now a world-acclaimed gymnast who led after compulsory competition, builds her lead through the optionals. 4 rotations at the US Gymnastics Championships. Brandi Johnson has built a full 2-point lead over Christy Henrich. The battle really for second at the moment with 1 rotation to go. Sandy Woolsey 3rd. Juliet Bangerter is 4th. So Brandi Johnson, preparing for her final rotation, approaches her first national championship. There's a championship of another kind to be contested next Sunday on NBC Sports World. 14-year-old Jenny Ester has moved up from 8th to 6th overall.
This is probably the most perfect giant swing I have ever seen. Look at that beautiful straight body work. High Jaeger. This is the way uneven bars is supposed to be done.
Jenny's in 6th place going into this rotation.
And a reverse hecht, her second big release move. She has got everything in this routine. Beautiful giant work, a tuck double flyway, and an excellent landing. I cannot believe that routine. This routine, someday, if she can get in there, could possibly medal at the world level. It is so near perfect.
Congratulated by Coach Christy Kraft. Jenny Ester, one of the new generation of gymnasts, rising up with a most impressive showing.
It's her dismount, tuck double flyaway, and just nails the landing. Let's take a look at that one release move, the reverse hecht. It is unbelievable how high she gets off the bar. Look at the straight body there in the handstand, way up over the bar. And now keep in mind, that's at the end of her routine. She's already done one major release move. Straight body giant work, the most beautiful in the world.
Jenny Ester, 14 years old, with what appears to be the highest score of the meet. .825. Here's Christy Henrich, who now needs a 9.35 on the bars to stay in second.
Performed a nice front giant, beautiful reverse hecht.
This is her favorite event. She's very aggressive here.
Good giant work. And a tuck double flyaway and a good landing. Tell you what, it's really tough to follow Jenny's routine, but that was an excellent routine as well.
Coming down to can you top this on the uneven bars?
Look how high she is above the bar. And the only problem there was she caught with a little bit bent arm. That will be a slight deduction. And like Jenny, she does 2 giants into a tuck double flyaway. And also a good landing.
Christy Henrich with 9.75 on the even bars, and that will be good enough to help her maintain second place over Sandy Woolsey. There is Brandi Johnson preparing for her final rotation, the balance beam, and we'll be watching that shortly, right after this word. Brandi Johnson, the overall leader by a substantial margin, now ready for her final rotation. On the balance beam is on the right her mother, Kathy Johnson, up from Altamont Springs, Florida, looking on at the brilliant performance of her daughter on rotation after rotation.
The amazing thing about Brandi is, to the best of my knowledge, she has not missed a routine since the Olympic Games.
This is her opportunity to become national champion in the U.S. for the first time.
She's really been running the table, winning 4 of the 5 big meets she's been in this year, 2 of them international.
That was a nice move. Early on, she did what's called a diameter. Valdez with a full turn. Two back handsprings, layout, step out, solid as a rock. Watching her progress from a talented gymnast to a world-class gymnast. Good tuck. Gainer layout, step out, right into a jump. That would have been her Gym Acro series. There wasn't too much of a pause between the two. Round up double back and a one step on the landing. A good routine, a great ending to a fantastic competition for her.
Congratulated by coaches Kevin and Rita Brown, and by teammates as Brandi Johnson has locked it up. The new all-around all-around champion of the US Gymnastics Championships.
This is her first major pass, 2 back handsprings to a layout step out. Look how she attacks that landing. And her dismount, a high tuck double back, way up in the air.
Mom Kathy's pleased again, and with good reason. And so is Coach Kevin Brown.
It's tough being the coach.
Coach is almost up on that beam. And it's official. A score of 9.65 on the balance beam means that Brandi Johnson is the new national all-around champion.
A terrific job, and I'm sure it's the largest victory margin ever at the national championships.
And this certainly has to give her a lot of confidence going into the World Championships later on this fall.
The final numbers are in the all-around at the US Gymnastics Championships. 3 16-year-olds go 1, 2, 3. Brandi Johnson, Christy Henrich, and Sandy Woolsey, and Jenny Ester, all of 14, finishes 4th. In the men's all-around, 18-year-old Tim Ryan from Stanford edged out Lance Ringnauld, who's also 18, with Michael Racanelli finishing 3rd, Conrad Vorsanger, the 4th place finisher. We'll be back to talk with Brandi Johnson after this. Starts with her now.
Well, Brandi Johnson, congratulations on your first senior elite national title. I think perhaps one of many titles that you're going to win in the future. You were such a pleasure to watch when you're out there performing on every piece of equipment. Is this something really, you seem like you're having such a good time.
I am. Out there, it's just a blast. The more fun I have, I think the more fun the audience will have.
Now, do you train that kind of presentation? Can you work that in the gym, or is that just your personality that oozes out?
Some of it we work in the gym with focus and everything, but most of it's personality, I guess.
Now, looking ahead to the future, you're currently dominating the U.S. scene as it stands. Looking ahead for the next few years, I hear we haven't seen all that Brandi Johnson can do in terms of big tricks.
Not yet. I haven't had much time to train, so new tricks. But I have a few tricks that I've been saving, like a full and full out on floor and a few big tricks on vault.
Well, best of luck in the future.
Thank you.
The old order giveth way, and a new generation of gymnasts was established here at the National Championships. Brandi Johnson was terrific, the new national women's champion she was expected to be, but there's a lot more, Kathy, to be optimistic about.
There certainly is. There were several impressive performances here. Shelley Stack fighting back from 14th all the way to 7th place. And Christy Henrich and Sandy Woolsey maintaining their form and maintaining their positions of 2nd and 3rd. The most outstanding newcomer, though, is Jenny Ester, who came on strong, particularly on uneven bars, where I feel she could really stand a chance to winning a medal at World Championships on that event. And then, of course, the highlight of the meet, Brandi Johnson. Her performance speaks for itself, and the U.S. can really look for good things, hopefully at the World Championships from her.
Well, the top 3 finishers were 16. The 4th place finisher, Jenny Ester, was only 14. Now, for Kathy Johnson and Bart Connor, this is Don Cricky. Glad you could be with us at the 1989 U.S. Gymnastics Championships.